Picture this. Summer 1940. Europe is on its knees. France has fallen, and the might of the German war machine, the Luftwaffe, is poised across the English Channel. Their goal: total air superiority. The final step before a full-scale invasion of Britain. This was the Battle of Britain, a conflict that would decide the fate of the free world. It was a clash not just of steel and courage, but of minds. And in this battle of wits, a genius idea would tip the scales. Hello and welcome. Today, we're journeying back to a pivotal moment in history, a time when the sky over Britain was the world's most dangerous battlefield. We often hear about the heroism of the RAF pilots, the few who held the line against overwhelming odds, but their bravery alone wasn't enough. The real secret to their victory was a revolutionary system, a network of technology and intelligence that gave them an almost unseen advantage. This is the story of the Dowding system, the genius idea that won the Battle of Britain. To understand its brilliance, we need to understand the challenge. The Luftwaffe was the largest and most modern air force in the world. They could launch hundreds of bombers and fighters in massive waves. For the outnumbered Royal Air Force, simply reacting to attacks as they happened would have been a disaster. They'd be scattered, overwhelmed, and destroyed on the ground before they could even get airborne. They didn't just need to fight. They needed to fight, smart asterisk. They needed to know where the enemy was, where they were going, and how many were coming, long before they reached the coast. This is where Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding comes in. He was the head of Fighter Command, a man who understood that modern air warfare was a game of information. Long before the war, Dowding championed a radical new technology, radar. At the time, it was an unproven concept, but Dowding saw its potential. He pushed for the construction of a chain of radar stations along Britain's coastline, called Chain Home. These giant towers could bounce radio waves off distant objects, detecting incoming enemy aircraft from over 100 miles away. It was Britain's electronic shield, an early warning system that was about to change everything. But detecting the enemy was only the first piece of the puzzle. What do you do with that information? How do you get it to the right pilots at the right time without causing complete chaos? This is where the true genius of the system emerges. The raw data from the radar stations was just a blip on a screen. This information was instantly relayed over dedicated telephone lines to a central hub, the filter room at Fighter Command headquarters. Here, a team of specially trained personnel, many of them women from the WAAF, worked against the clock. Their job was to filter the raw data, cross-referencing reports from different radar stations to plot the exact location, speed, altitude, and number of enemy planes. They distinguished friend from foe and built a clear, unified picture of the entire air battle. From the filter room, this crucial, filtered information was passed down to group headquarters and then to sector airfields like the famous one at Duxford. Imagine the scene in one of these operations rooms. A huge map table of southeastern England dominates the center. Around it, plotters with long magnetic rakes move colored counters representing friendly and enemy squadrons. Each counter told a story, a squadron's call sign, its strength, its altitude. Above, on a balcony, the sector commander and his controllers watched the unfolding battle like gods playing a celestial game of chess. They could see everything. They knew which squadrons were closest to intercept, which were running low on fuel, and which were available to scramble next. This system allowed for incredible efficiency. Instead of sending up patrols to search for the enemy, the RAF could hold their fighters on the ground, ready to launch at a moment's notice. When an attack was confirmed, controllers could vector their squadrons with pinpoint precision, guiding them directly to the incoming bombers while avoiding the deadly fighter escorts. It was a masterpiece of coordination. It meant less wasted fuel, less pilot fatigue, and maximum impact. The RAF could meet the enemy on their own terms, at the ideal time and place. Let's put this into perspective. A German pilot flying into Britain would have felt like he was flying into a spider's web. No matter which way he turned, RAF fighters seemed to appear out of the sun, exactly where they needed to be. To the Luftwaffe, it seemed like the British had an endless supply of planes, when in reality, they were just using their limited resources with unparalleled intelligence. The Dowding system turned the entire sky into a managed, controlled battle space. It wasn't just about the bravery of the pilots in their Spitfires and Hurricanes. It was about the calm, calculated decisions made by the controllers in the operations rooms on the ground. The Battle of Britain raged for months. From July to October 1940, the Luftwaffe threw everything they had at Britain, bombing airfields, ports, and eventually cities in the Blitz. But they could never break fighter command. They could never achieve the air superiority they needed for an invasion. The Dowding system, this network of radar, command, and control, was the backbone of the defense. It allowed the few to punch far above their weight. By failing to defeat the RAF, Hitler was forced to postpone and ultimately cancel Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Britain. The consequences were immense. Had Britain fallen, the course of World War II would have been drastically different. The island became an unsinkable aircraft carrier, a launchpad for the eventual liberation of Europe. The Battle of Britain wasn't just a British victory. It was a victory for the Allied cause, and it was won not only in the cockpit but in the quiet, focused intensity of the operations rooms. It was a triumph of strategy, foresight, and a truly genius idea that connected human intelligence with groundbreaking technology. It proved that in the crucible of war, the sharpest weapon of all is a well-informed mind. Thank you so much for watching. The story of the Dowding system is a powerful reminder that innovation and brilliant strategy are just as crucial as courage on the front lines. If you found this piece of history as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into the past. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious.